Welcome to the third episode of To The Point Sports. Today, we have another athlete on the podcast today, and we'll be right back. And we're back, myself, Avery Totten, alongside my co-host, Johnny Bertucci. And like I said, we had a special guest on the podcast once again. We did in the first episode, and now in the third. He is from Point Sports Athletics. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Pekarsky. I am currently a member on the Point Park baseball team. Currently a freshman here, and I'm from around the area in Monroeville, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, when you're talking about that around the areas, did you know anything about Point Park when you first started?
I heard great things about it. Great opportunities in the city. A lot of internship opportunities even off the field, to get a job. And the greatest point here is you really can learn a lot about yourself. You're in the city, you get to meet new people, great opportunity to come and just a lot to learn and a lot to see.
Yeah, I think that's good. Did baseball play a big role for that as well? Yeah. So kind of going into it, right? Season came to an end. For those who don't know, I play with Liam. We were on the same team this spring, and what do you think is like the biggest difference maker you saw between high school to college in terms of baseball, I guess?
The biggest difference I saw was definitely a lot more competitiveness. Guys definitely work harder. Guys are in the gym lifting more, and they're getting after it a lot more than they did in high school. You can clearly see it on the field. They're here for a reason. They're in the top 7%. I think that's what it is. And, they're trying to compete just like me and you. They want to do the best. They want to succeed and really just want to show what they can do.
Yeah, and kind of going off of that, not more so a statement than a question just for the audience here, but a lot of schools, they can look at people when they get recruited, and they're like, this guy was our main prospect, right? Over here at Point Park, at least my perception of it, and a lot of upperclassmen have seen it, Torres looks at everyone the same coming into the door, and it's really how you do in that fall to spring, like that mix right there, that really defines the type of player you are to them. It's less of what you did prior to college, and I think that's a big thing, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, going off of that, for those that don't know, Liam is actually a pitcher on the team as well, like Johnny is, and just going off of that, how is that just being able to work out? Is your workouts like different than others compared to like a DH?
So our workouts are pretty similar. In the winter, we often do the same workout. It'd be lifting. It's the same group as like hitters and, like you said, DHs. And we really do that. But in our own time, we could really get our own lift, do our own stretching, mobility, whatever it took to help us reach our potential. And it just helps us get in the weight room and being on track. Definitely being with the team, you get to know guys really well. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah, build chemistry, definitely. I love it. I like how we also were pretty consistent with that. We didn't take too many days off with it. And I guess my question is this, we have a little bit of a controversy outside of this podcast with me and Liam. And it's a big thing for pitchers. I'm a firm believer that you must lift to see success on the field, especially as a pitcher. And I kind of want to hear Liam's input because I'm almost positive he does not fall along the same side of me on that argument.
So my argument is just a quote from Paul Stevens. He's saying you don't need to lift the house. He obviously probably the best pitcher in the world. He's saying that you don't need to lift as much as you think you do. And I think what you need to do is become more flexible, just moving quick. And I think even if you don't lift a lot, if you're able to move that weight quickly, it'll definitely translate to the mound when you pitch. That's how I'm a firm believer. If you're able to be very flexible, I think the velocity will come to you and throw hard and dominant.
Well, yeah, you go, Avery.
Just going off of that, just hearing around and knowing you as well, I've heard that you also have a routine that you do, and it takes a while. So just run me through that real quick before you answer that question.
It might take all day. It might.
So Some people call me a slow coach. I like to get the field nice and early. I like to make sure I'm rested, ready to go. And first thing I like to do is obviously take a nice jog, get the legs nice and loose. That's the first piece of the puzzle. And after that, I like to just continue with the legs, going the lower body, and working it all the way up. And obviously, I think being able to stretch out and feel good, having enough time to just relax and be at ease. Like, it's like you're at peace. You're like meditating almost. But it's a good way to get ready. And I think once you do that with enough time, you're able to then work the bands, and then go to plyos, which is, I think, the last thing you do before you need to throw. Then you throw and toss. And I'd say you throw for about a few minutes, and then you do a bullpen. That would be my routine. It's just taking a while, but it's being at ease and being able to be stretched out and feeling ready to pitch and dominate.
Yeah, how long does that usually take you?
Yeah.
It could be over an hour at times. Sometimes I can do it in 30 minutes. It really depends. The situation, if I'm relieving, you don't really have that time, but if I'm starting a game, I can definitely take my time and take that extra long route if I needed to.
Yeah, I mean, kind of going off of that, right? Obviously having that long routine gets you loose. You like being loose going into the game, really not tight at all, right? And I guess my question really is, how has that adjustment been for you? Because I know being on your team, it's not always the longest period of time for you to stretch out and get going, especially since they had you relieved quite a bit during this spring. So what would you have to say about that?
To start the season, I relieved a lot. I never really got an opportunity to start games. That's where I was my point at. I definitely had a big adjustment coming from high school or even my youth leagues. Never really relieved in my life until college, and it was a huge adjustment trying to just find a way to get ready quickly and being able to go in the game ready to just compete and shut the door on the other team, as our coach would say. Just slam the door on the other team. So our coach Groff said to us. But obviously, I was able to figure it out. It got better as it went on. I was able to do well, and eventually earn my way into that starting rotation midway through the season with Johnny, which was able to do well. And if you work hard enough, do the right things, what your coach asks for, you can definitely get to where you want to be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Avery, you got any good questions outside of baseball for him?
Yeah, so for Johnny, since we all know that he's one of my closest friends, and all we do when we have free time is play 2K. Now, we're big on video games here. I just wanted to get to know you outside of it. Like you said, are you a gamer?
No comment?
I thought he was asking you, Johnny.
No, you.
No.
I would say, yeah, I'm a big gamer. Yeah, I like to play video games. I have enjoyment for that in my free time, definitely. My favorite game back in the day used to be FIFA when I was into soccer. And then now I'd say probably Madden. I enjoy playing just sports games. I find it interesting and definitely makes you feel like you're a part of the team.
Yeah, like golf with friends, kind of. That's a good one
great
too.
one. Yeah.
Dead by Daylight. Yeah. Yeah, a couple of good ones in the mix.
2K's on the uprise right now.
It is, definitely.
Well, speaking of 2K, are you really familiar with the NBA?
I'd say so. I mean, I follow college basketball and then follow as athletes I go there. I mean, especially
Yeah.
saw Cooper Flag won Rookie of the Year. One of my favorite athletes in college, and then you got Connor Knippel, a three-point shooter. Love to see it.
Yeah, so for our last question here with you, just who do you think is going to win the championship this year in the NBA?
I'm going for a repeat. Give me the OKC, Oklahoma City Thunder.
Okay, I mean that's a good pick. This is like an out of the box question, but did you see SGA's Instagram post today?
I did not know. What did he post?
So they swept the Suns, right? And he, Dylan Brooks, and he was pointing at. There's a picture of him pointing like this at Dylan Brooks, and on the back of Dylan Brooks' jersey it says Cancun on 3. So
That's pretty
So-
cool, to be honest.
yeah.
It's cool until MP sweeps you, you know? MP comes in there and he sweeps you. That's what's cool about it.
Well, Liam, I just want to thank you for hopping on the podcast and being able to, just spend your time here today and with us and being able to let us get to know you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was great to be on here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we'll be
Thank
right
you.
back, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, we are back after having Liam. That was very appreciative for us, for everyone, and definitely for him as well for this. But I will say, before we get into baseball, softball, track, and the NFL draft, please go subscribe and hit that button there. You can find us on Instagram as well. And kind of going into this, right, baseball, Wheeling, of all teams I saw, has been a very successful program. I believe we split with them. And that kind of came out of nowhere. You start seeing some of these MEC teams, and a lot of them stick with you. I know Frostburg State, that's a big one that typically is good at a lot of the sports. But Wheeling kind of caught me off guard because last year I don't recall them doing as well as they are this year.
Yeah, to recall last year's tournament, I'm pretty sure they didn't make it, or if they did, they were a first-round exit.
Yeah.
But when you talk about Frostburg, they actually were they were in the semis for the MEC championship last year against
Frostburg
Point Park.
too.
Yeah,
Fairmont, yeah.
Fairmont faced Point Park in the finals. But going back to Frostburg, they were a semifinalist at the MEC tournament last year, and right now they're looking like they're going to repeat that again. So, what are your thoughts about that? Just looking forward to the MEC tournament, which is next week.
I know from a coaching perspective, Torres goes to any game the same as any other, right? Wheeling has been good this year, but even we play teams like Salem, which even I could flip over to softball. They beat Salem. It makes me think, I hate saying this, Salem was actually a school that I was interested in prior to Point Park, and they had offered me, and I don't know. I don't really know too much about them. I know they're a smaller school in West Virginia, but I do know that typically we do beat them. But at the same time, I know from our coach's perspective, and I'm sure any other coach, that they're going to go into that game the same as they do with Fairmont, Frostburg, or Wheeling, any of the teams. They're all the same because you never know. So for me, I look at it like our team is going to win. Because I think with our coaching, we've done well. Pitching starting to get better. You look at it, Harold Boyce, Player of the Week. Williams got Player of the Week. And then speaking of that, I guess Williams, right? If you want to go talk about that a little bit, he had a fantastic it was a split, but those two games were great for him. He played his heart out. For sure.
Yeah, when you're talking about the two players of the week, Harold Boyce, like you said, taking pitcher of the week, and then Chris Williams taking MEC just overall player of the week. So when we're talking about that, if those two can show up during the times that we need them, right now Point Park closing out their season with two game series with Salem. So just being able to, not only get those 4 games and have a 4-game sweep, but being able to keep the winning streak going. Right now they are on a 2-game winning streak. Last night, if I'm not mistaken, they just beat Slippery Rock 6-4, and before
Huge.
that, which is huge. Before that, facing Wheeling, which they split the series. So when we're talking about those series, not in the MEC tournament, it's win or go home basically, if I'm not mistaken, and because of that, there's no game 2, game 3 like there is a lot in these MEC matchups. A lot of these MEC matchups, as we know, are a lot of double headers or just back-to-back days. So when you're getting to see these MEC teams going over and over and face them over and over, like at back-to-back games, it's a lot on the players especially when you're talking about that. But not only that, just having the mindset that you have to go out there and give it your all.
Yeah, I mean, one big thing you mentioned there that I liked was about, they got that last one against Slippery Rock, which is huge because PSAC in general are great programs, but let alone Slippery Rock, which is just known to be a great baseball team. Getting that win's huge. But I mentioned that obviously already. But the point I'm trying to get at right now is having that momentum going into the playoffs or MEC tournament. Getting that win over a top-tier team and then now going into your first round is huge. And obviously that can go both ways. I kind of wanted to ask you this because, to me, sometimes losing prior to it is better because it's like motivation. Whereas you might be high on the rock when you're fresh off a win. Like, if as a coach, what would you prefer?
In my opinion, honestly, just I see where you're coming from with a loss. Like, for a lot of people, they just want to get back, as the kids say it now, to get back. And they have that mindset they're going to do whatever it takes to win. And because of that, they have that fume. Now, on the other hand, it's like you said, the winning side's like, all right, we already beat them once, let's do it again. And they're just fired up to just be there. But I do like just the fact of just, losing, but we got to define this losing part because you could lose 15-0, all right? You can lose.
It's
you
true.
Can lose. So it just depends on how bad or how good this loss is, depending on the fuel you're going to get from a team. Because if a team's under 500, which we're seeing a lot in the South region or the South Division, for the MEC, a lot of those teams are not on the right track like the North Division. A lot of these teams are above 500, and a lot of these South teams are below 500. UC, for those an example of that. But they were able to split a series with Point Park. So, who knows? It's like March Madness all over again, just for the MEC. So a lot of these teams these records could be looked at different ways. A lot of these teams could be like,
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would take the losing side of it, which sounds crazy, but I think as a coach, I could motivate my players more to, gather that up together, build all that steam up, and kick the first team's butt that I face.
Right.
Whereas, you're high on the rock, that's kind of hard to get your team to do that. Now, going over to a team that did come off a recent win, softball, they've had their ups and downs. We mentioned that in last podcast. Do you think that win really meant anything to them, or what do you think?
For morale-wise, yeah. I honestly think it does. Being able to win on senior night is a big part. But what I don't understand is the fact that they had a senior night and they still had games to be played at home. So it kind of just confused me. But just being able to get that 5-4 win against State was crucial. But, splitting that is something you rarely see from this team. But this team is young. It's only losing 2 seniors. And just being able to, close out the 4 games they have left, 2 against West Liberty and then 2 against Wheeling. West Liberty being on April 30th and then Wheeling's matchups against them on May 1st. So just being able to finish out home and at least getting 1 win is crucial. Right now they're 11-33, so not the best. 3-21 in the conference. So just being able to get the wins that they can right now is just playing for that end of the season push for just grit at this point.
Yeah, and it also could be a thing where the seniors step in and they're like, let's make this adjustment for next year, kind of,
Right.
set the edge for the upcoming class and stuff. But I will say one thing. I could rain on this for a long time, but I do think Point Park is a very supportive fan base when it wants to be, right? Like, we've had teams that have been rough. We know what it's like being in the NAIA, right? It's not a bad thing, but it's true. We've moved up. We know it's not easy, being D2, and we've seen success, we've seen failure, but we're one of those dogfight programs. We've been down there at some of the lower levels where it comes down to, 10, 11 inning games that just keep going on, and you got to fight. And I think it's huge because personally, coming from whenever I was in high school, my football team is not that good. I've told you stories. We lost a game to Clareton 82-0 or something like that. It was horrible. So we had our ups and downs, but the thing that never helped us was the fan base back at school. We'd come into school the next day and we'd get people, getting on us about stuff, saying how bad we are. And I'm just looking at them, I'm like, you guys aren't helping the cause. So having that group, I'm sure the baseball team's the same way. Look at when we played at PNC Park. The whole softball team showed up, track people showed up to come and support a big game for us, a big moment, right? And it's the same thing we did for soccer, all of that. All the athletics are supporting each other, and they don't say bad things about each other. And I think that's such a big thing for a growing program at a D2 level.
Yeah, when you're talking about the supporting base of Point Park, a lot of these, teachers aren't even that hard-headed or strict about stuff, especially when they find out you're an athlete. Not being biased, not them being biased, but just trying to help out with the busy schedule that you have. A lot of them are just like, hey, if you're an athlete, come up here and meet with me before class ends and stuff like that, and they'll get you scheduled out. And if you get tight with these guys, with these teachers and professors, they actually, just try to motivate you and try to do the best they can. I think at Point Park here, a lot of the professors care about mental health, care about how their students are doing. Since, Point Park, for those that don't know, have a ratio of classes being 21-1. So it's basically high school all over again. It's just the fact that, these teachers can help you out, and you're not just going to class and being like, oh, let's just get this over with. They're trying to keep you engaged, trying to basically just have a connection with you at the end of the semesters, trying to just do what's best for them, do what's best for you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the teachers here actually came from Point Park. I've seen a pretty big trend of that. And they all know what it's like. They know this is a very fulfilling school in terms of not having time for things. So that's why I think it plays a really big role. But kind of going back to what I mentioned about one of the teams we haven't talked about, which is track and field. They came up as runner-ups for MEC tournament. They are now done. But I saw, I was scrolling this through several records and placements for them. They had a lot of success and a lot of athletes that grew through the years, and you're starting to see it a lot.
Yeah, and Akeem Mustafa getting MVP honestly helped that as well. And going around this track team, a lot of these people are tight-knit. It's not, yeah, we know him, he's my teammate. It's a lot of these teammates and stuff are a tight-knit group. So I think that helps a lot with this great push that the track team is having at the MSC tournament, like you said, and not just Akeem getting, MVP, but a lot of, like you said, a lot of people were able to capture gold, break records, like you said. One of those people getting gold would be Maya Greshner, who set 3 records on Tuesday and being named the MEC Women's Track Athlete of the Week last Monday. So just being able to, being a conference champion is great, but not only that, but breaking records at the school.
Yeah, and big thing is, I didn't realize it really till now, but I'm in the trainer a good bit just for rehabbing my arm because the season's been over.
Right.
And throughout the whole season, there were always track and field people in there, and some of them had some pretty gnarly injuries they were playing through. I know I was just talking to one of my friends that does javelin and discus, and he was saying how his arm bugs him all the time. Javelin takes a toll on your shoulder. Runners, they're always having quad, hammies, calves. There's so many muscles within the leg region. it's crazy. And obviously they're getting workload. They're doing a lot, let alone having practices. I think at RMU typically they're traveling all the time. So I give them a lot of props personally. I give them a lot of props because yes, they have a lot of people on that team, but yes, there's a lot of grit that is not really acknowledged enough to the success they had this year.
Yeah, not just that, but being a tight-knit group like we were covering, and then having coaches that are supportive is a key. I think that's a big part in the people's recruitment and how they'll commit or they'll transfer here is just the fact that we have coaches here that care about their players. They aren't just here because they got a job. They're here to make time's worth of these athletes' time and make them greater than they came in from a year ago to 4 years ago. And that's clearly shown for some of these athletes, like we said, getting gold runner-up. One of those runner-ups being Aubrey Smith, who took second in the 800, which she got the all-second team MEC, which is great. So just being able for her, if I'm not mistaken, she's a freshman. So for her to come in and get second as a freshman is great.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was actually going to mention that a lot of freshmen have seen success on this track and field team. Actually, funny enough, we have a guy that's in a lot of our classes for our major, Andrew. I don't want to mess his last name up. Hartung, right? Hartung. Yeah, and I believe, from my knowledge, he said he walked on and did all of these events, and he actually got the record for I forget what it's called, but it might have been for 6 events. I would have to double check that.
Yeah.
But big pole vault guy who's seen success, and it's crazy. It's like Point Park, going back to the coaches thing. They offer so much opportunity. If you want to walk on to one of these teams, they're willing to give you the shot.
Yeah,
it's not going to be easy. It's not a make it, and
they're not they're not going to be like absolutely not. They're just going to be like, listen, if you want to, we'll give you an opportunity, but if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. It's not like
no guarantees.
Yeah, they make that clear, but they also make it clear that they will work with you if you work with them. So, going off of that, working for somebody, working for a coach, we got new guys in the NFL. And Pittsburgh, a lot of drama happened that first day of the draft. So, I'm not a Steelers fan, but Johnny, you are. So take me through that first night, because when I was with you during the draft, you had a crazy reaction.
I did, and first thing I'm going to say is I really just wished Philadelphia's phone died. I couldn't have asked for that phone to hit low battery mode and die before that phone call, because I've never seen it before. Lemon is a great receiver, right? He's one of those guys. He's a character. They keep making fun of him when he's talking, going like this, the whole snake thing, and just the accent and everything. But that's such a Pittsburgh thing. I mean, look at George Pickens. You got him now. He's one of those guys that it was the same thing. A little bit of a head case, but he's a great athlete. And we wanted him. That never happens. For those who don't know, Cowboys had the pick. They traded it to Philly. Steelers were on the phone with Lemon speaking about how we were going to pick him next pick. And the Eagles swooped in just like the bird, took the phone call, and drafted him. So it kind of left my friend Omar a little out of reach, little out of control, little taken back, and I think it just led to us kind of drafting something that we did need, but I'm not sure if it's the guy. But I will say one thing before I pass this on to you. I was very frustrated in the moment. I did not know who it was. I couldn't even say his last name, nor do I think a lot of commentators could. They just said the pick. But Max, I hope for success. I would actually rather be in his position personally than Mendoza's, because Mendoza's ceiling is through the roof, floor is way higher, whereas the guy we have, that floor is pretty low, the roof might be anywhere, any mix way. And I can't hate the guy until I see something.
Right. And just going off
yeah.
of that, the ceiling is going to be high, like you said. But in my opinion, the ceiling is going to be high for a first-round pick in general. Of course, Mendoza's is going to be through the roof because he's projected to be the franchise guy. And we're not going to see that until he's on the field for a year and stuff like that. And a lot of people called Bryce Young a bust after the first couple of years, and now that he made it to the playoffs this past year. So, honestly, I'm not going to call anybody a bust after the season unless, they get benched or cut, of course. But, Fernando just doesn't perform well this season. It's just like, we'll see where next year goes. And if next year doesn't go well in the year after that, then he clearly wasn't the option. But going to my Cowboys, I think they had the biggest steal of that draft, getting Caleb Downs. Caleb, before the Combine, was actually projected to be top 5 in basically every mock draft, and the Cowboys got him all the way at the 11th pick, trading with the Dolphins to go a pick back. So it worked out in our favor to get one of the best guys in the draft, who was projected to go top 5 and ended up going 11th. So, I think our draft was great, but I think it was amazing at the fact we got a guy who was projected top 5 to go all the way down to 11 in a position that we needed.
Yeah, I'm going to put it out there right now. I want this video to be remembered. It either could be the biggest joke opinion I make or the biggest bam success. Fernando Mendoza is going to be a complete bust. I think maybe later in his years I could see a little bit. I'm going to mention a guy. I don't want to call him a bust, but I also don't want to call him a great quarterback, and I think the situation screwed him. Ryan Tannehill. I see the vision completely. Mendoza got a guy like Genty, great running back. I mean, he has a tight end, yes, he could pass. But I'm seeing it all. It's turning parallel. Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, Ashton Genty, Fernando Mendoza. Mark my words, it's going to happen. But, great PR guy. Best of luck to the kid.
Right. And if you didn't know, Ryan Tannehill was actually a receiver at college and then transitioned to quarterback, and it worked out well.
Switched.
It worked out well for a couple of years for the Tennessee Titans.
But I see it. I see the vision, and I don't hear his name much more. So I'm just going to...
retired, so, yeah. Well, that will do it for the episode 3 of To The Point Sports Podcast. Follow us on here on YouTube at To The Point Sports and on Instagram at To The Point Sports. We thank you and hope everybody has a great night.